now, stand up and make some noise for your keynote speaker, the author of the best-selling book, Living a Championship Life, A Game Plan for Success. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dr. Rick Goodman.
Let's go. Woo, what a beautiful crowd here. You know, as I travel around the country and I work with healthcare workers all around the world, there's something I know about each and every one of you. See, what I know about you is that you have to have a heart that's this big in order to do the things that you do every single day. See, you're making a difference. We are in a profession that gets to touch people's lives every single day. We have miracles happen all the time. If you don't believe that we have miracles all the time, how many of you have ever had LASIK surgery? And you walk in and you can't see, and you walk out, and 4 hours later, you're reading 20/15. Now, if that's not a miracle, I don't know what it is. And you touch people every single day. But there's something else that I know. See, as I travel around the world, I ask people this one question. It's a great bar question. I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you know the number one answer I get? I don't know. Well, let me give you a piece of information. I learned this a long time ago in medical school. You're not coming back. So you may come back as a fish or a frog. You're not coming back as you. And if you're not doing what you love to do, then you're not helping and affecting people's lives. And that's the most important thing you can do. I also found out something very interesting about people. See, I found there's three types of people. I was sitting with my professor years ago. He said, there's three types of people. He says there's a type of person that sits on the lily pad all day long in the lotus position, hoping things will happen. Then there's a type of people that talk about what they're going to do all the time. And then there's the type of people that take massive action. See, I recognize one thing about the people sitting in this room. You're the type of people that take massive action. See, if you didn't, you wouldn't be sitting here today. Do you recognize that you're in the top 10% of all people in the world? That most people never attend a continuing education seminar? They never go to a class once they graduate high school? That's it, they're done. You're in the top 10% just by doing this and just by being here and being able to share. And you've got to understand, it's so important. And a lot of times we do things that we don't even recognize how we're affecting people's lives until after it happens. So you've got to recognize what power that you have in your hands, what power that you have when you answer that phone. Now, I have called some of the clinics. And I must say that we're going to have to change things around here a little bit if we want to attract and retain new patients, if we want to improve our systems, and if we want to communicate and connect to the outside world. So what I'd like you to do right now is, how many of you have cell phones on you right now? I'd like you to turn them on. I know this sounds really weird, but I want you to put them on vibrate. And what I'd like you to do is, here's my @DrRickGoodman Twitter address. So if you see or hear something profound, I would love you to tweet it out. And we can see how we're trending. See, you're going to have to reach out to people in different ways. It's not the same old, same old. And you're going to have to give people different things that they need. We're going to have to be able to adapt to all different generations. How many of you have children out here? Anybody have children? How many of you turned stupid overnight? Anybody? Right? You're going to make a comeback, I promise. You're going to make a comeback. I have recognized, I say to my kids sometimes, does this just say stupid up here? I don't know. But I recognize we're going to make a comeback, but we have to learn how to communicate and connect. And as I traveled, I was writing my book, Living a Championship Life, A Game Plan for Success. And what I found here, when I was doing this program, Living a Championship Life, I interviewed hundreds of CEOs, athletes, Super Bowl champions, and I found out that they all had something in common. They all had a specific vision, goals, and a game plan for success. They all took action. And action, the acronym, stands for attitude, communicate and connect, and training. You've got to understand the acronym, because if you utilize the acronym, if you understand that you're acting, and you put this through your people are going to feel it. See, teams go where you go. I've called some offices and I couldn't even understand what the people were saying. If you called my office and they said, Neurology Associates Group helping you return to health, what would you think? Help yourself. Is that a place where you want to be? You want to be their action. We don't even have receptionists. See, we look at things in a different way when we set up our facilities. I have something called a DFI. They're the director of first impression. They're the first impression that you get. And I don't hire people by skill. I hire them by personality style. And we'll talk about that later. See, I can't train somebody to be outgoing and expressive or detail-oriented. These are all inherent characteristics that I'll talk about in my session later on. But the reality is people fit positions. Our docs, they're not our docs. They're our directors of care because that's exactly what they're doing. So I looked at things and I wanted to make things simple. I'm the guy who takes difficult things and dumbs it down. You know why? Because I found out that a lot of us function at the third grade, second semester level. Sometimes we communicate to our patients and they walk out, they have no clue what we just said. Has anybody ever been there before? And nobody wants to go be the person to ask that dumb question. Do you know what he's talking about? I have no idea. Let me go Google this. I was just talking to the Navy. They're bringing me down to Norfolk in a couple of weeks. And she started throwing all these different acronyms at me. You know, we're going to get you paid by the FY14. I got Shirley, my executive assistant, typing up to see what she's talking about. I just know I'm going to get paid, but she's typing stuff up. We've got to speak where people understand. We've got to be able to communicate effectively. And the key is your attitude. Your attitude is going to determine everything. If you wake up with one of those days kind of things, you're going to have it. There was a guy who wrote a book. His name was Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Has anybody ever heard of Dr. Maxwell Maltz? Let me tell you about a book. You know what a book is? Someone takes 10, 20, 30 years success and failure. They put it in a book. All you have to do is read the book, do what they do. You get the same results. That's the reality. And again, less than 1% of all people in this country read more than one nonfiction book a year. I guarantee if I asked some of you to take out your library cards right now, you wouldn't have one. You got one, I know. See, the key is you've got to be able to learn. And Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote this book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And he was a plastic surgeon in New York City. He had a woman come into his office, and she was a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Everyone agreed she was magnificent. But she had this little crook in her nose. And she thought she was ugly. Well, they went through a whole bunch of noses, and they chose a new nose, and she picked that nose out, and they did the surgery. She came out. She was magnificent. She was a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. Everyone, she said she was amazing. And she sued him for malpractice. Every time she looked in that mirror, she saw that ugly person. Well, they went before the judge and the jury, and they saw the before and after pictures, and they said she's absolutely magnificent, and they threw it out of court. See, but her mind did not know the difference between something actually happening and something imagined vividly in great detail. See, your mind is going to make you right every single time. It goes where you go. How many of you have moms or grandmas that say bad things happen in threes? Anybody got that mom or grandma just like me, right? And so all of a sudden you wake up and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they just keep coming. At the end of the day, see, I know I was right. Had one of those days. What'd you ever get for being right? Now, if you've got something, please let me know. I think I've been right a lot and I haven't gotten anything yet. So please share. I'm really interested in this. Or think about this. Have you ever woken up and you bought a new car? Anybody buy a new car recently or in the past? And the next thing you knew, there were hundreds of them on the road in your hometown? Everybody's driving the car. The reality is your mind's going on search to make you right. It happens every single time. Or if you're in a rush to leave today, how many red lights you hitting? Every single one. You know you are, because you're attracting those things into your life. You attract the people, places, and things into your life based on your attitude. And your attitude is going to determine exactly where you go. And you have that choice. You can choose to recognize that you do miracles every day just by showing up. And it's not just the physicians. See, I like to ask a lot of people questions. I'm an undercover guy. I'll call phones. Some of you have submitted some questionnaires to me. But one thing that I have noticed around here is there's a lot of working fours and not a lot of working withs. And there's a big difference. See, in healthcare is all inclusive. I could tell you that person who answers the front desk phone may stop a patient from coming in your office. And if you don't sit there and communicate with those patients on a regular basis and communicate with them effectively, you're going to lose a patient. And the key isn't in getting a whole bunch of new patients. See, what I taught doctors around the world is just get your right people the right way, and guess what? They will refer. And you know how much that costs? 0. Because people do business with people who they like or like them. You'll go buy a product from a friend of yours, even if it costs you a couple dollars more than go to a local discount place. Look at who your friends are. They're just like you. You don't hang around with people that are opposite you, do you? They're exactly like you. Because people do business with people who they like or like them. So you've got to start touching out to people. You've got to start recognizing what's important. Who's the most important person to anybody in the world? Themselves. So you need to start focusing on them because they're what's most important. And a lot of times our patients tell us stuff and we don't even listen. And you know, here's the funny thing. I could tell when I call you over the phone if you're smiling, if you're laughing, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're eating, if you're not paying attention. I feel that all through the phone. Can you guys feel that too? And you get in front of somebody and you shut off half your senses. And they're telling you, everything is telling you what they need, what they don't need, if you're on the right track. How many of you have ever had one of those patients? You walk in, it's like one of those difficult patients, like, oh my God, Sally Jones is here. Let's run. We've all had that happen. But in our power, with our attitude, the things that we can do to overcome issues with patients, with insurance, you know, this is one of the best times in the world, frankly. You know, I'm not a fan of any kind of big healthcare reforms or stuff like that, but guess what? Anytime there's an opportunity for us to treat, see, and affect more people on this planet is an opportunity for us to do good. And it comes back to you tenfold return. See, if you give to get, you're even. If you give expecting nothing in return, you're always ahead of the game. And now, how many of you have been in that place where no good deed goes unpunished? Anybody been there? I go there all the time. See, but my aunt says to me, you know what, you just keep giving. See, because what I found out is that if we have 100 patients come in the office and 99 say that we were great and one says that we were the worst, who do we focus on? The worst, the one. We forgot about 99 people that love us. And you know what? Here's the cool thing. You're going to get rid of that one person, another one comes in. It's Pareto's principle. It's the 80-20 rule. I really say it's 80, 10, and 10. 80% of the people in the world are great. 10% the crabgrass that grows on the earth. You can take a leaf. And 10% are never going to follow you. So don't focus on them. It's fun to change some of those people and turn them. There's nothing better than taking someone who is in a bad physiological state and changing how they react, changing how they respond. But it's all based on you. It's that feedback. It's what they feel in their bodies, how they respond. They connect with you. And that's what people are looking for. Why do you think social media, Facebook, Twitter, all these, because people want a connection. But here's what we're losing. We're losing the ability to communicate. Our children are losing the ability to communicate. And it's our job to effectively change those things. See, if you're really focused on helping other people, if you're focused on having balance in your families, you're going to make sure to do the right things, to step ahead. Maybe sometimes to step out of your comfort zone. And it's not easy. See, some of us live in fear. And I know, you know what fear stands for? False evidence appearing real. 95% of things you worry about never happen. How many of you woke up in the morning last week and said, okay, I'm going to go in the office, I'm going to say this, she's going to say this, I'm going to say this, she's going to say this, and you had this whole battle in your mind? You ever have that happen? Nothing happened. You just wasted time, energy, stress on something that would never happen. And it's all about that attitude. Patients feel it when they walk through the door. They know when they're in the right place. I could tell you when I woke up this morning, I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I have felt that way since the moment I spoke with Joffrey. I felt that way last night when I was talking to Carl, who's one of my only people sitting in the front row. He didn't even believe I was going to be the speaker. I was undercover. He said, you're the first person to talk to me. I said, I talk to everybody. I'm going to be up there. He said, no way. I said, yeah, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to share some stuff with you. It's so important that you understand the power that you have with your words, with your deeds, with the things that you do, and you're never going to know until after the fact. A number of years ago, my dad, when he was alive in the early 50s, got polio. 1 week after he got polio, they came up with the vaccine. Now, what happened was my grandparents, he was going to be a professional baseball player, and my grandparents wanted him to go to upstate New York for the weekend, and he kind of fought them and didn't want to go, and they, of course, won the battle of the parents, and he went with them. Well, it was in one of those areas in upstate New York that was a highly contagious area, and he came down with the polio that affected him from the legs down. So one of his legs was much skinnier than the other. Most of his friends passed away. They had the type polio that affected, they were in iron lungs, etc. And he kind of was a tough guy. He lived his sports life through me. And I was traveling, I was 12 years old, I was playing hockey all around the country. And you know what, as a 12-year-old kid, I would go play hockey, and then he would make me go to work to learn the value of $1. So I would go work in his clinics and his pharmacies, and you know, I would get paid maybe $20 for the day, and he'd bring someone in to mop the floors, pay them $20, and say, no, I could let my son do that. He'll do that too. He was a hard guy. He was very forceful in the things that he felt. And one day, I said to him, I was laying on my bed, I'll never forget this. 12 years old, I was crying. I said, I don't want to play hockey anymore. I want to hang out with my friends like a normal kid. And my dad was a big guy. His fist was as big as my whole face. It was huge. And he was scary, too. Well, he looked at me, he said, you're going to play, and you're going to like it, and that's it. And I remember sitting there crying, saying, I don't want to play, I'm tired, we got friends and stuff, there's parties I'm missing. And he said, if you can't, then you must. If you must, then you will. So what are you talking about? See, I found out he had this physical therapist, and the physical therapist's name was Terry. And my dad, years before, was in that same position. He was laying in bed, couldn't move his legs. The physical therapist said, you got to get out of bed. He was feeling sorry for himself. He had what we call the loser's limp. You know, that's kind of like when that football player catches the ball and all of a sudden he knows he's going to get caught and he comes up lame all of a sudden. We call that the loser's limp. Well, he had that loser's limp. He was feeling bad about himself. And Terry said, if you don't get up, you're never walking again. And if you can't, you must. And if you must, you will. Well, my father embedded that in me. He said it over and over and over again. See, when we come up against things that we don't feel that we can accomplish, we've all been there before. We've all been in that place where we don't think we can overcome obstacles, and yet you have. You've forgotten half of the good stuff you've done in life. You got out of first grade. How about that? You learned how to talk. A little bit of an accent, but you learned. Look at me go, you got the accent down here. Well, the reality is you all learned, you all overcame different things. And it's all about what's in between the ears. Because your mind doesn't know the difference between something actually happening and something imagined vividly in great detail. So what I'd like you to do is all stand up with me, because I know you've just eaten a big breakfast. Come on, let's stand up. And what I'd like you to do is repeat after me. I can. I must. I will. Is that the best you can do? Come on now. Let's do this again. I can. I must. I will. Oh my God, they told me the Georgia Association for Primary Health Care was excited, loud, happy, ready to help people. One more time. I can. I must. I will. Give yourselves a round of applause. Way to go. All right, have a seat. Some of you have stopped dreaming. And some of you have to recognize that you could accomplish your dreams and goals at any moment in time. I sold my practice a number of years ago and decided to travel around the country and speak and share and set up doctor's offices. That was my thing. I could grow big facilities in a very quick manner. I opened up 13 down in Florida in 3 years. It was kind of what I'm really good at. And as I was traveling around, I wanted to help more people, but I recognized that you can't help more people just in that 1,800 square foot office. You got to get out there in the community. You've got to give health. I did everything. I was in the Rotary. I gave healthcare classes. I spoke to who would ever hear the story of health. If you're not communicating, some of you are the biggest secrets on the planet. They don't recognize that you'll take anybody, whether they've got money or don't have money, no matter what denomination, color, you take them, you help them. Are you communicating that message? That's my question. I'll bet you only a fraction of people know how great the people are in this room. You've got to start getting out there and communicating more effectively. I have something called WOC. That stands for whip out cards. See, because everywhere you are, there's somebody who can whip out a card. I remember the worst thing that happened to me one time. I had a patient had migraine headaches, and actually, it was my wife's friend had migraine headaches, and she said, "Oh yeah, my friend went to Dr. So-and-so." Why'd you send him there? Well, because she's got migraine headaches. I lick my chops when I see migraine headaches. I eat those alive. That's easy stuff for me. You sent that out the door. Why? She did not know what I did. You assume that people know what you do, don't you? But you're not communicating that message. Or maybe you just got a new piece of machinery. You got so much stuff going on over there with your vendors. I was walking around and I said to Joffrey, I feel like if I was in practice, I'd start buying things, you know? See the Welsh Allen booth over there? Remember all that stuff? You've got to focus. And the focus has got to be on the patients. The focus has got to be on the staff. The focus has got to be on you. See, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. I remember one time I walked in the office. I must have had one of those faces on. You ever had one of those faces? You know, you wake up in the morning, and they used to have those little things years ago. I remember my parents had it in the house. It was like they had a whole bunch of dogs, and like you put yourself in the dog house or something, and you weren't feeling quite yourself, so nobody would talk to you. Well, I walked in the office one day, and I was going to treat a patient. And I'll never forget, Donnell walks into me, and I said, I'm going in room 3 to treat the patient. She goes, "No, you're not." I said, "Yeah, no, I'm going in there. We're backed up. I got to go in there." She goes, "You're not going in there. Go in the bathroom and fix your face." I give my team permission to be blatantly honest with me. So I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Go in the bathroom and fix your face." Well, I looked in the bathroom, and I had this scowlish look on my face. Well, I came out with a fake smile, because you can't change how you're feeling inside. And she said, "You're not going in there. I'm going to send in Dr. Smith." No. It's my patients. They want to see me. I don't care. Go fix your face. You've got to be in that right attitude of mind. From the time the person answers the phone, to the time the person sees the physician's assistant, to the time they go in and see the doctor, the time they have to fill out the insurance forms, the time they have to make the appointment. This is all cyclical. It's called customer service excellence. What makes you unique and different than anybody else? That's what makes you survive. When I set up 13 clinics, we were unique and different than anybody. We were like you. I'm a chiropractor. I set up neurology clinics, full-base neurologists, physical therapists, chiropractors, massage therapists, MRI. Sound familiar? I called it my one-stop doc shop, because I knew I needed to capture as much information, as much on the patient, that then I could refer them out to areas if I needed to. But what we did was we positioned ourselves as that primary facility, that one-stop shop that has everything that you need. And if we can't help you, we're going to refer you out to someone that can. Is that fair? I love asking that question of patients. I'd always say to a patient, if I can help you, I'll let you know. And if not, I'll let you know that too. Is that fair? You think anybody ever said, "No, lie to me, doc. Tell me you can help me"? I want to help them. I also knew I have a reputation. And if I don't help them, how many people are they telling? Everybody in Augusta, Georgia. Well, Dr. Rick messed me up or hurt me worse. And they tell everybody. And when you do a good job, they don't tell as many people. You don't believe this? Go to have a bad restaurant meal. How many of your friends did you call? Anybody within a 20-mile radius, don't go. Put it on TripAdvisor. You got all crazy with it. Maybe called the restaurant a couple times. They do the same thing with your clinics. They do the same thing with your facilities. So your facilities, you have to walk into your facility as if you are a patient. You have to look at it through their point of view. And I could tell you last night at the Christ Community Health Center, what a beautiful facility. Beautiful facility, excellent hospitality. People want to walk into this. There's something else that I noticed, and I was having a little conversation. You know, you've got some great people surrounding you and some very talented people sitting here today, But you have these flat screen TVs that are playing someone else's movie over and over and over again. What's that about? That's like me having the People magazine from 1963 sitting in my waiting room. Some of you may have that, but I don't think people started that early. Why not create your own videos about what you're doing, about your facility? So then when they're sitting there and they're not watching some actor from WebMD they don't know, but maybe they're watching the director of the clinic. Or maybe they're watching the DFI if you choose to go that route. Or maybe they've got the podiatrist. Somebody saying, hey, this is what we do here. Here's our menu, a list of things. Tell people. Now, it may be different for every one of your facilities, but you know what? It's not expensive. And if people are sitting their butts in that waiting room, which I don't even like to call it a waiting room, it's a reception area. Because waiting room means they're waiting. I don't know about you, but I only got one letter of complaint from a patient. He said, Doc, I'm mad. And I got to tell you this. You do not let me sit in your reception area long enough to read People magazine. I got a letter like that. See, because I went to my family's offices and I waited for hours and I kept looking at my watch going, you know, my time is just as important as their time. Isn't your time just as important as the patient's time? What do you think they think? They're thinking the same thing. And then they're sitting there going, you know what? The next time I need care, really need care, they look at their watch, they figure it may take 3 or 4 hours, and guess what? They don't seek the care that they may truly need. And then it ends up in a crisis situation. Why? Because it took too long and their brain can't forget that it took too long. You got to look at it from the patient's point of view. Go sit in someone else's clinic and say, would I go here? Look at the bathrooms, look at the facilities, look at the different manuals in there. Were they written, before the fall of the Roman Empire? Or are they new and updated? I am sure most of these vendors would be happy to supply you with manuals and brochure on every disease known to man that they could treat. You've got to keep communicating. You got this guy, great guy in here, Gary Meadows. He's shooting my video. He's right here in town. You don't think he would be happy to make a video for every single one of you that you could play that's going to help more people? See, that's why we're on this planet. We are here to help people. And if you're not here to help people, you're in the wrong business. See, in my opinion, there are only 2 areas that are important in this world, in shaping this world and shaping human beings. And that are teachers and healthcare workers and providers. You don't have your health, you have nothing. And the teachers, you parents, we're all teachers. We have the greatest duty. We get to shape and mold individuals. I once heard a speaker say to me that his idea of success was someone who stopped the dysfunction in a family. Stopped that tide that kept going from generation to generation. And that to him was a true hero. I thought that was amazing stuff. See, because I am George Costanza. I am Mr. Opposite. I see everything you guys are doing, I do the opposite. Because I know some of those things just didn't work. Now, do I make mistakes? Absolutely. We all make mistakes. See, but you have to have something called FFG. Faith, forgiveness, and gratitude. You got to have faith that you're doing the right thing every single day. And I like to listen to my gut. I call it Jiminy Cricket. I say to my staff all the time, what does your gut say? See, because it's like that multiple choice test in school. You all remember that? When you took that and you changed the right answer to the wrong answer? You got to go with your first gut instinct. You got to have faith that you're in the right place. I know. I put on Facebook today, I said, I know I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. There's people supposed to get messages here today. I certainly got a whole bunch of messages in the last day and a half, I can tell you that. Since the time I hit Georgia, I was getting messages. Incredible, incredible, life-changing messages. You get the same messages too, but you're just not paying attention. And you got to start focusing on that. It's about your attitude. It's about what you can do, what you put out. You've got to forgive yourself. Some of you make a mistake and beat yourself up forever. There is nobody tougher on this planet than you on you. And you don't give yourself a break. We all mess up. A couple of weeks ago, I was in one of those places. I could tell you, and I've told a few of my friends, I could be the single most unmotivated motivational speaker you'll ever meet. I said, but I looked at my assistant Shirley. I said, listen to me. I don't know how to lose. We win. This is what we're doing. I'm going to tell you in advance what we're going to do because I don't want people to think I'm lucky. See, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You're prepared, you're doing the right things, and then good stuff happens. So you have to understand when that good stuff happens, you got to be there and blessed to get it. Well, I told you I sold my practice, and one of those good things happened. I had a friend call me up, and he said, listen, you should go back into practice. I said, no, I've already done that. I like speaking. I like doing the things I'm doing. I figure we're only on the planet for a very short period of time, so I want to just cram it all in. I call it net time, no extra time. So I'm just pushing it in 150% of the time. He said, well, listen, the Los Angeles Rams are moving to St. Louis. How would you like to have the team? You could be the doctor for the team. See, this is a guy coined the phrase, show me the money. His name's Harold Lewis. He represents about 175 NFL players. So I thought, wow, this would be really cool if my dad did this. And my son was 5 at the time, so I thought, yeah, I'm going to go for this. Sure, I'll do it. Well, some of you might not know that the Rams were the single worst team in the 1990s. They moved to St. Louis, they won the first 4 games, and they lost every single game after that, almost for the next few years. Well, in 1999, we made a trade. We picked up this guy, Trent Green from Kansas City. He was supposed to be like the second coming, taking us to the Super Bowl. This was our time. Dick Vermeil was now our coach. He was an amazing guy, cried all the time, but he was an amazing guy. Well, 3rd game, preseason, Trent Green goes down, season-ending knee injury. Now, as things have it, my office was about 5 minutes from Rams Park. And my players would come in right around 6 o'clock and come all in into our reception area, scare the heck out of some of my patients because these were some monstrous guys. But on this day, one of the players came in, and his name was Michael Jones. He's a good friend of mine on his foundation. He said to me, Doc, we're in trouble. He said, we got nothing. The season's over. Now, he is saying this in my office where we breed positivity. You cannot come in my office unless you have a good, positive frame of mind. My staff kicks me out. So I brought him in my office. He said, he goes, I'm just tired of losing things. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. We have nothing. I looked at him, I said, if you can't, then you must. If you must, then you will. He said, what? The guy's like 6'4". I said, if you can't, then you must. If you must, then you will. Now, it's funny because my son comments to me all the time because whenever I'm going out with one of my players tonight, his name's Charlie Clemens. Anybody know Charlie Clemens? He's a Georgia boy. He's up by Fayetteville, another linebacker for the Rams. Well, he said to me, Dad, why do you talk to these players like that? You talk to them like they're children. I said, Alex, all we are is children in big people's clothes. That's who we are. If I'm not going to get through to him, I'm not going to get through to him. Well, as the story goes, there was only a few seconds left in the game. Steve McNair dropped back to pass. He threw to Kevin Dyson on the 1-yard line. And Michael Jones, in his head, saying, I can, I must, I will, made the tackle on the 1-foot-yard line, and the Rams won the Super Bowl. Now, you're sitting there going, yeah, Rick, how do you know that? Well, I'm going to tell you. 2 years ago, I was called up and asked to play in a charity golf tournament by a sports agency. And the head of the sports agency said, hey, could you bring a couple of your players? And I said, sure, I'll call some of the players up. And I called up Mike and said, how'd you like to come down here and shank some golf balls into the woods with me? And he was all up for that. So he flew down to Florida. And my attorney calls me up. He says, yeah, I got to go pick up some VIP at the airport. So I said, who is it? He goes, I don't know. And this guy doesn't know a thing about sports. So I said, who are you picking up? He said, some guy, I don't know, some baseball player named Tommy John. You ever hear of him? I'm like, you're going to pick up Tommy John? I'm like, Yankees, World Series, Tommy John surgery? You kidding me? I said, I need to be in that foursome. He said, oh, that's no problem. The 4 of us will play together. So we're out on the golf course, and Tommy John is sharing some great stories about Steinbrenner and the Yankees and all the crazy stuff. And he looks at Mike and he said, I got to ask you a question. What was going through your head on that last play? He said, you see this short little guy over here? He has the most annoying voice you've ever heard. And all he kept saying is, I can, I must, I will. He goes, and in my mind, I heard this voice. And I can, I must, I will. And he did. He made that tackle. See, what are you saying that you can't do? Some of you have stopped short of success and you never even know it. And I had an incident that happened to me a number of years ago. I was giving a speech in Virginia. And if you've ever driven down some of these roads in Virginia, they're long, and the exits could be 40 miles away. Well, I'm driving down down the road, and I get a call from my friend Jeff. And he says to me, listen, he goes, I got to tell you this sad story. He said, our friend Alan and his dad's best friend went out on a boat, and they were out in Jones Beach Inlet, and a wave hit the side of the boat, and my friend Alan and his father's best friend went over the side of the boat and drowned. Horrible story. Alan and I were lifeguards at the beach growing up. Well, I kind of lost my train of thought. I thought I saw my exit. I got off the exit, and I recognized I'd gotten off the wrong exit. So I turned around. I started driving. I'm driving down these roads of Virginia. I'm driving. Now I realize I'm just going the wrong way again. My head's just not on my body. Well, I get off that exit. I come back, and I go all the way back. I see that exit where I got off, and 100 yards past the exit I got off was my exit. I stopped 100 yards short of success. Most of us never have an opportunity to do that. See, some of you are looking in the rearview mirror, and if you've ever noticed, when you look through the rearview mirror, it's pretty small, isn't it? See, but if we start looking ahead, we start looking through that front mirror, it opens up wide, and there's possibilities all around us. See, but most of you are busy putting out fires. You see right here, the opportunities are here. Opportunities are always on the periphery. They're all around you. They only get attracted to you when you are in that right spot, when you're in that right place, when you're in that healing frame of mind, when you are doing something for others that is more important than doing something for yourself. That is when you start to become attracted to the world. That's when the phone starts ringing. That's when patients start calling. That's when you start bringing on more docs. See, another challenge I've heard is bringing on more docs. Well, guess what? Maybe you ain't selling them right. Because it's not about the money. Because I could tell you, I've had employees, and you pay them another $1.25 an hour, and they're miserable, they still leave. People are doing it for things other than the money, whether we believe it or not. I'm up here sharing with you, and it has nothing to do with the money. It's about making a difference. So you have to make a decision. What kind of difference do you want to make in the world? And it has to do with your attitude. You've got to also connect and communicate, the C. People want communication and connection. You've got to learn to communicate more effectively, even if it's with your children. And it's not just talking to them. See, how many of you like to be told what to do? Raise your hands. Nobody, okay? See, but here's the cool thing. If I ask you for help, I know you people down here are so nice that 98% of the people here would say sure. One person may say it depends, and one person's going to say no. But I know. And you know what? If you don't ASK, you're not going to GET. What's the worst thing that could ever happen? You're in the same spot you were 30 seconds before. They say yes, you just went to the next level. How many of you have been in that position with anything in your life where you didn't think you could get? You asked, they said yes, you almost fell on your face. Why haven't I done this over and over and over again? See, it's not that you don't know what to do. It's you're just not taking the action on it. You've got to learn to effectively communicate and connect with these people. And if you understand something else, you will grow your business and your life will never be the same. See, people on this planet want three things and three things only. They want love, appreciation, and respect. They need it like the food they eat, the air they breathe, and the water they drink. That's what they need. I always praise Shirley in public. My assistant is, she allows me to do things I get to do and still run business at home. And I don't stand behind her back watching her do stuff. But it's all about love, appreciation, respect. You got to love those patients even if they're not lovable. How many of you have had one walking in your door that you couldn't warm up to if you were cremated with them? Anybody have that patient? This is the person that would win the lottery and complain about paying taxes. They're not happy. But you got to overcome that. The goal is to turn that person. We had Marianne in our office. She was the one who had migraine headaches for 30 years every single day. Now, if you've had migraine headaches for 30 years every single day, death is a step up. You want to kind of stick a needle in your eye. Well, it was a big different story with her. My staff would go in the back room and pick straws to see who got stuck with Marianne. Literally. Well, one day, Donnell, I saw her car pull up. I said, Marianne's here. I said, you got to step it up. you got to be that one to show the rest of the team. We can help her. I know we can help her, because if we couldn't help her, she wouldn't be here. Well, 2 weeks later, Mary Ann came in and brought a bundt cake. I guess that's what you do in St. Louis. Well, she brought a bundt cake in, and, you know, the girls, she walked in, she said, "Hey, guys, how you doing?" Well, I think my DFI fell off her chair because she had never been that happy ever. So she said, "Hi, Mary Ann, how you doing? What's up?" She said, "I haven't had a migraine headache for 2 days." This is a miracle to this woman. The next week, she came in with theater tickets for the whole staff. Now the staff chooses who gets to get Mary Ann. It's different. You got to put that stuff out there. You never know when you're going to touch somebody. I was driving, I was going to give a speech up in Presque Isle, Maine. Has anybody been to Presque Isle, Maine? Okay, it's way up by the Canadian border. The only reason I ever go to Maine is for one reason. You know what that reason might be? Lobster. There you go. There's my friends. I'm going to go get the biggest, fattest Maine lobster with all that stuff. I'm excited, but I don't even know where to go. Well, I'm driving up those roads, and I'm pulling up these big highways, and everything's getting tall, the trees, things are looking beautiful. And then I see that sign. You know, you see it when you pull into Augusta. Welcome to Maine, you know, welcome to Augusta. You know, and it always has those little tourist booths and stuff like that. So I decided I'm going to pull off the tourist booth, and I'm going to go in and get some information so I can figure out where I'm going to find some good lobster here. Well, I walked in, and there were these two women in there. They were working the booth. They couldn't have been a day older than 85. Well, they were the nicest, sweetest women I'd ever met. They couldn't have been nicer. They were giving me brochures. They were giving me all kinds of stuff. They were ready to make reservations for me. I looked at this woman. I said, "Get over here and give me a hug." And I gave her a big hug. And then I let her go. And she stood back and she looked at me and she said, "You know what? I really needed that." She said, "I was married for 52 years and my husband died a year ago. You don't know how important that was to me." You never know when you change or affect someone's life. You never know when someone needs that hug, that little something. Now, we're chiropractors, so we're huggy people. But the reality is that touching of that patient, putting your hands on them, acknowledging them, we call it PTC, present time consciousness. When you are one with that individual, there is no dollar value you can put on that. That's where people feel the true healing power. I was listening to an interview done about Oprah. And they said, you know, why is Oprah such a great interviewer? And the answer was amazing. They said, when you are with Oprah, you don't feel like there's anybody else in the room with you. She engulfs you. She is focused on you one-on-one. How many of you are focused with a patient or on an office, and then all of a sudden something else happens and your head's over here and you're doing this and that? You can't be with that individual. And if you think that the patient doesn't know, you're kidding yourself. They absolutely know. I'll never forget, I gave a report of findings to a patient once, and I must have been so mechanical because I'd been practicing for so long, and the patient looked at me and said, "Sounds like you've done this 1,000 times. And my scripting was so good that he was right. And that's wrong. See, because that patient didn't feel like he was getting personal attention and personal care from me. That never happened again. See, when you walk into an office, you are on stage. When I come up here, it doesn't make a difference what's going on in the world. I'm on stage. I'm giving you 150% of my energy and time. Why? Because you deserve it. You woke up early. You paid money to come here, to spend time at a conference, to learn, to grow, to communicate, to socialize. Then you deserve every bit of me. Don't you think those patients, whether they're paying $1 or $500, deserve the best from you? Don't you want to leave it all on the table? Because it's all about love, appreciation, respect. You've got to let these people know how much you appreciate them. You never know how long they're going to be around. And respect is a big one. See, what I keep hearing in this organization over the last couple of days is, I work for him. This is my boss, I work for him. Well, let me give you a little piece of advice. My first 2 years in practice, I went through 200 front desk people. I had a patient come in one day and say, "Who's the new employee of the month or flavor of the month?" I would hire older women because I was 24 as a doctor, and my patients kept saying, "How old are you? Are you old enough to be a doctor?" Well, one day, one of my employees walked in my office. She slammed the door and she said, "If you ever speak to me like that again, I'm out of here." I swear on my children's lives today, I don't know what the heck she was talking about, but I'm sure she was 100% right. You don't lose 200 people by being an effective communicator. So what did I do? I traveled around the country and I interviewed physicians and their staffs who had been together for 10, 15, 20 years. And I found out what some of those traits are. My staff is now with me. Shirley's been with me for about 15 years. Because it's all about love, appreciation, respect. See, they don't work for me, they work with me. Huge difference. You may not think it's a huge difference, but it is a huge difference. See, because I can't do it without them and they can't do it without me. It's a team. I can't be here with you if I did not have an effective executive assistant at home taking care of my business, even making sure my dogs get walked, letting them out of the house. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something about hiring. Hiring is like dating. If you are desperate, 18 of the biggest losers are going to show up at your front door. True. And when you're okay with yourself, you're going to attract that perfect person. Whether it's a physician, an assistant, a therapist, that is the way it is. Think about it. You really start to attract those people. And you can find great people everywhere. I hired Shirley at a P.F. Chang's. I did. I walked into P.F. Chang's. I was looking for a personality for my mergers and acquisition company. It was an East meets West style company. We wanted to use Western techniques with Eastern philosophy. And there was this beautiful Filipino girl. So she was standing right there at the front desk, and I said, "Come walk with me." And I handed her my card. Well, I could see she might be interested, so she stuffed the card in her pocketbook while her manager was like hovering over her. Well, she didn't call me, and 2 days later, my partner said, "I'm taking out a couple of attorneys." I said, "Go to P.F. Chang's." He said, "Why?" I said, "Just go to P.F. Chang's." He went to P.F. Chang's. There was Cheryl's right at the front desk. I said, "Walk with me." I said, "You didn't call me." I said, "I really want to hire you." See, we had this hot towel machine. You ever see, when you're on an airplane, sometimes they hand out the hot, wet towels? She was going to be the hot towel machine handout girl. So when you walked up into our office, it was all black marble. We had the Buddha bar and all this stuff all set up. It was East meets West, 2 Buddhas really on each side. And there would be Shirley, and she would hand you a hot towel, and everything would be good. She was perfect. And then she moved into not just hot towels, but administering, because she had a personality that is off the charts. I would call her in front of audiences just so they could hear her voice, and I'd say, "Where'd I hire you from?" And she'd say, "P.F. Chang's." Well, 3 years ago, I was on the internet. I'm on Facebook. And I put on Facebook, "Man, I'm so busy. I need like 10 hands. I wish I had some help." And all of a sudden, I got a message back from Cheryl's. And Cheryl said, "Sounds like you need help." I said, "Yeah, do you know anybody?" And then I got a private message. And she said, "Yeah." She said, "I just had my second child. And my ex-partners told her she only needed to work 2 days a week to stay home with her child. She really wanted to work." I said, "I'll make you a deal. You could just come to my house 2 days a week. You work out of your house the rest so you can spend time with your kids." Why? Balance. See, I found out something about myself. I'm the guy who will give you 10 things to do. I'll go back in my office for 10 seconds, come up and give you another 10 things to do. I will drive you insane. Anybody work with somebody like that? I don't do that anymore. Do you know why? Who was I hurting? Myself. You could be the best worker on the planet. If I'm standing behind your back watching you do your job, how many mistakes are you making? Tons of mistakes. We all do. We feel that person behind our backs. Some of you are standing behind people's backs right now, and you're sitting here with me. That's the reality. And what you're going to find is sometimes these people do a better job than you can do. See, but until you delegate to them, you're never going to find out. You're not going to be able to grow that individual. And if they're going to mess up, heck yeah, they're going to mess up. You should pray they mess up, because then they're going to learn a lesson. It's all about how you teach that lesson. If you're there to beat them up, see, every time you make a mistake, you know what you do different. You know what you say to yourself? You say, "Well, the next time I'm going to do this," don't you? So I ask them, I say, "You know what I like best, Charles? That you give great effort. You have an awesome attitude. You're always there when I need you. Next time, do this." And then I say, "What do you like best? What are you going to do different next time?" See, because we all know, but when she verbalizes it, she owns it. If I tell her, she never gets it. I found out sometimes I am my own worst enemy because I'm interrupting my people from doing a job that's going to benefit me. You've got to trust that you got the right people there. And you got to train them properly. You can't just say, here's a job, go do it. A lot of us get caught up in that. The key is that love, appreciation, and respect. If we respect these people, you're going to see things grow. You'll see things explode. That's the way it works. And they all want that. They want those accolades. I always do it in public. Always. I praise them in public. I was just at my Florida Speakers Association convention the other day. Cheryl's was there. I got up to announce one of the speakers, and I said, I'm so glad. I said, I've got my executive assistant here, and she came here on a Saturday. How awesome is she? On a Saturday. She didn't have to come. But guess what? I'm there for her, and she's there for me. It's a symbiotic relationship. We work with our staffs. Because you know what? It might be that one word that an administrator gives that makes a difference. It may be that one word that a physician assistant does. It may not even be the doc. It may just be the person who answered the phone and they know they're in the right place. Every single one of you has that effect on an individual. You won't know until they tell you, and some of them never do. I got a letter the other day. I spoke at the National Speakers Association convention, and I was doing a program. I've got continuing education companies also that do continuing education for medical, for legal, for anything that you need a license to keep, I'm in. Why? Because I got to go do it myself, and I thought this is a great business. What an annuity. They have to go. So why not? It's like anything you have to have is a good business. So we're in that business, and the guy came up to me. I was discussing it, and he said, how can I get your book on Amazon? I said, just give me a card. So he gave me the card. And I said, Cheryl, let's get him out a book. I wrote a little dedication to him in the book and sent it out to him. And I got back the most beautiful email, quoting some things. And he said, your description was just the icing on the cake. And I looked at Cheryl's and I said, Cheryl's, this is why we do what we do. This is why. It's more important than making another dollar. Money does not buy happiness. It gives you choices. It gives you the ability to do what you want to do because you want to, not because you have to. That's it. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't take away sickness. I'm telling you, I've had it. I lost it all and I got it again. It doesn't make you happy. And it can't be the primary focus in your hiring abilities for docs out there because you don't have the big bucks to pay. What you do have is the ability to help many, many people. You have the ability to see more people in certain areas than other areas. And not every person fits that mold. You don't want everybody. You want to be discriminatory in who you hire based on do they fit your model? Are they going to be willing to go out in the community and help? Are they going to participate in lectures? Are they going to be teachers? Because that's what a doctor is. A doctor's a teacher. And are they going to teach the staff so that the staff can then share the message with others? See, because sometimes the staff doesn't know what the doctor does either. How do you communicate if you're not sure what you're doing? And if you're not sure what you're doing, just ask. The key is in the asking. The key is in the making a difference. The key is in stepping out of your comfort zone to go out and risk maybe failing, but also risk hitting a home run. Because you never know when that's going to happen. I made a decision a few months ago that I was going to take my daughter on a trip. See, because I put all my time into my son. It's a guy thing. Guys hang out with their sons, and the daughters hang out with their mothers, and you very rarely see a daughter and a father, going on a vacation together, alone, much less to Europe. No phones, no computers. Pretty scary thought. 16-year-old kid. Mini me. Big time mini me. My son, not quite me. My daughter, 1,000%. I mean, she's got that brain that just keeps going. And she's 4 years younger than her brother, and she'll look at her brother and go, Alex, what are you thinking? Come on, get together. Well, I decided we were going to go on this journey, and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to write about this. So I need you to be completely honest. I need you to write all your feelings. I'm going to write all my feelings, and then we'll put together. We'll see if we got something. Well, I am an over-the-top guy. I don't know how to do anything 50 or 100%. It's usually 150%. So this 2-week trip turned into a month in Europe. We flew from the convention where I was speaking in Indianapolis at the time. We went to St. Louis, went to Chicago, over to London, over to Paris, up to Florence, Venice, Chianti, San Gimignano, down to Rome, over to Israel, Madrid, back. A month. If I tell you, my daughter wouldn't share anything with me before this trip. I couldn't, it was like talk to the hand. Anybody have that happen? Like, Dad, you can't relate. You know, let me talk to Mom about this. She wouldn't share anything with me. And then there was this one night, I always tell her that I have these things, I call them welcome to my life moments. Crazy stuff happens. I attract people. When you're in that right place, I attracted this beautiful Miss Joffrey Baker Brown back there. Give her a round of applause, please. She's awesome. Well, every city we would go to, something crazy would happen. One day she was complaining, we're in Paris, and she's complaining about being in Paris, and, you know, we're walking. I mean, who complains about being in Paris? I'm tired, I want to go back to the hotel, call a cab. No cab would take me. No cab. And all of a sudden I hear this play-by-play in French. And I'm listening to this play-by-play in French. I go, let's go walk to that. I don't want to go there. No, I want a cab. No cabs are taking us, Jamer. Let's just go walk toward the music. We walk. We walk right into the last leg of the Tour de France where the Englishman won for the first time in 100 years. I looked at her, I said, this is unbelievable. Do you know what you're seeing right now? This is unbelievable. We walked right into this. We didn't plan this. I don't care. So, of course, I take my pictures, video, put it up on Facebook. All of a sudden, I get a message from this guy, David Red Nemitz. He saw me speak in Florida. He wanted me to do some consulting with him, but he disappeared. He moved to Paris. He said, Rick, I'm in Paris with my wife. Let's get together on Facebook. Next thing you know, I'm up at Montmartre with him. My daughter's portrait. We're hanging out. Get his picture. My daughter invites his wife out. She loves going out with everybody. So she said, is your wife there? Oh, let's go out with her. So next thing you know, we're out with them in Paris. This stuff happened everywhere we went. She would collect people. And we'd be going to dinner with strangers we didn't even know. Well, the one night I knew I hit that home run, that I made that difference, was the night I threw my back out in the hotel. And we walked into our room, and we were staying at the Brunelleschi, which is a great hotel I love, and walked in, and I smelled this smell. And I didn't know what it was, but my daughter knew right away that there was no way I was going to stay in the room. So when I went down the front desk, she had already packed her bag, because she knows who her dad is. Well, as I come up and they smell, you can really smell this smell. It was like just putrid. I start to go packing my bags, and pop, my back goes out. Now, I'm talking like insane, intense pain. 1.5 weeks into this trip. So, you know, I grit it out, and we're going to this restaurant, and the restaurant only had 2 chairs, and they were stools, like piano stools on the outside. So there's no way I'm sitting there. So I said, let's go to this other restaurant, Giostra, I know them. We'll go in there, and next thing you know, there's 2 people, and we start talking and everything, and she invites these other people out with us. And he happens to be the biggest leather maker, and she's one of the top designers in all Florence. I didn't even know how it happened. And we walked out, and she looked at me, and she said, you know, Dad, we make a great team. That's when I knew I hit a grand slam. Never knew that. I can't tell you how close we are. She sent me a text before I started speaking, I almost started crying. I said, you almost made me cry. She said, I was supposed to get you pumped, not that. And now our book is coming out. See, I thought it was my book. It was going to be a dad's guide to traveling with a teenage daughter, Generation Y, W-H-I, why do it? But I read the book, and she's such an incredible writer. She wants to be a journalism major. She wrote so fabulously. I said, it's not my book. It's her book. It's now called Jamie's Journeys, Travels with My Dad. It's going to be coming out in the next couple of months. Funny as heck. And at the end, she gives Jamie's gems. And Jamie's gems are advice to other kids on how to put up with your parents when they're annoying. I mean, who could beat that kind of a book? I wish I had read her book before I went away with her. Then I would have annoyed her. It's how you're making a difference. See, I didn't plan on that happening. I planned on spending time with my child, getting her to know her dad a little bit better because I'd focused so much. All the sports games, all the stuff was always with Alex. And I felt like I was doing a disservice, and she wasn't communicating with me. You've got to put the wood in before you're going to get the fire out. It doesn't just happen overnight. And you have to understand the power that you have. I'm going to talk a little bit about goal setting this afternoon. And I was doing a program for the Future Business Leaders of America. Anybody ever hear of them? High achieving high school college students. It was at the Atlanta Marriott down here. And I was talking about goals. And if you set your goals, that all the great things are going to happen to you. And I saw this kid in the front row, and he came up to me before I started, and he said, he said, sometimes I feel like killing myself. It's flipped me out. I didn't know what to say. I said, sit right there in the front row. Now I'm looking around for counselors and stuff, and there's thousands of kids at these conventions. I mean, thousands, like a political rally. And the kid sat there, and he listened, and we were talking about goals and how to get everything you want out of your life, things that I'm going to talk about this afternoon. And he got up and walked out. Now, I looked around. I couldn't find him, and I went back to my office. I told the story to my office. And then 6 months later, I get this letter, and it's a letter from Winterset, Iowa. Anybody know where Winterset, Iowa is? I did not know where Winterset, Iowa was until this last presidential convention. When on NBC News, they said, we're in Winterset, Iowa. I said, oh, that's where it is. Carl, could you come up here a second? Just want you to read the date on here for me. Carl, my friend over here. He's going to read the date. What's the date on there, Carl?
February 17th, 1998.
Thank you. So, I've been carrying around this letter since 1998. Let me read it to you. Dear Dr. Goodman, my name is Raphael. I'm a senior at Winterset High School in Winterset, Iowa. I've decided to write to you because you aided me in finding the motivation I need to succeed. This may not make sense yet, but it will. This past November in St. Louis, I attended an FBLA conference. At that conference, you gave a presentation that helped me realize what I wanted in life and how long it would take for my new goals in life to actually set in. I'm very happy to say that I've set new goals and I firmly believe in them. When I went to the conference, I went somewhat closed-minded, not really believing that this was possible. However, if it is possible, I'm now on my way to succeeding. My GPA is up and so are my grades. I remember when you said that it would take from 60 to 90 days for new goals to set in. In addition, you said that it would only work if you looked at your goals every day and made a list of exactly what you wanted in life. The period you said it would take has already come and gone, but what I believe in will never be gone. Thanks again, sincerely, Raphael. Enclosed is a picture so you may remember who I am. And there is the picture of this kid. I've been carrying around this since 1998. It reminds me that I can make a difference, even when I'm not 100% me. We all can't be on every single moment. But if we recognize those little things we do, the one word you say to someone could make a big difference. I was at a Nova Health System in Virginia. They're satelliting me to 7 hospitals. And I was telling the story, my daughter, she's looking at colleges now, and she said, I think I want to go to Boston University. I said, $60,000, are you crazy? I said, why do you want to go to Boston? Well, how'd you find out about it? Well, Dad, when I was like 10, you said Boston was a great place to go to school. I didn't say that. I went to prep school there, but I really said that. See, you never know what you say and how it's going to affect someone. What it's going to do differently to change their lives. I got to say, unfortunately, or fortunately, I've had the opportunity to speak at a lot of different people's events. And on Sunday, I'll be 50 years old. So Sunday's birthday is kind of a little crazy for me. I've been thinking about a lot what I want to do. And recently I had to go sit down and give a eulogy at someone I knew. And at the end of the eulogy, it was really more of a celebration. We wanted to celebrate this person's life for all the unbelievable things she had done. Well, the preacher then had read a poem, and I want to share it with you. Because as I started to think about what I'm doing, what my purpose is on the planet, I think you really need to think about what your purpose is on the planet if you don't know yet. See, because right now you're in the right place. You're where you're supposed to be. Well, the preacher read this poem, and it reads like this. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on his tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of his birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that he spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved him know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard, and there are things you'd like to change, for you never know how much time is left. You could be at dash mid-range. If if we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remember that this special dash might only last a while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about you and how you spent your dash? Well, it really had an effect on me. See, right now I'm sharing my dash with you. This is a monster part of my dash. Taking my daughter to Europe was a huge part of my dash. Writing a book with her and then coming out with another one, huge part of dash. Reaching out. See, each and every one of us, we get one shot. You don't know when that day is going to happen. It could happen any time. How are you going to live your life? What are you going to choose to do? Well, that was written and said at the funeral of a woman named Jackie Klein. Now, I met Jackie a number of years ago. Jackie was just like each and every one of you. She was a healthcare worker. She worked for United Healthcare at the time. And then she'd called me up and she said, listen, there's guys building clinics down in Florida and I think you can help. Well, I had just gotten done with the Super Bowl. I wanted to get out of misery, St. Louis misery, that is. And so I figured, you know what, I'm going to go on down. Well, she introduced me to a bunch of individuals, and as life has it, one of the partners says, well, you need to meet the last partner. So I said, okay. Well, the last partner walks in, a guy named Perry Saul. He looks at me, comes over, gives me a big hug. He says, I can't believe it's you. I was his consultant. He said, I can't, how? I said, I'm in. So we built 13 clinics. Jackie was the head marketer, physician educator. She went around. We had 900 attorneys referring us business on a regular basis. She was in charge of community events. When we had an event for our people who did referrals, we had all ballrooms, night event, casino nights, all kinds of different things to integrate, to let them know what we do. Any chance we had to educate, we were always educating. And we hired physician educators. Well, on April 21st, 1995, Jackie walked into my office and she said, last night I found a lump in my breast. What do I do? I said, well, you know, I can't advise you on what you should do with your body. I think what you should do is go, you know, through the appropriate routes. Well, she did, and she went and she decided that it was in her best interest to go have a double mastectomy. And she had double mastectomy, and what they found out was that in the healthy breast, she actually had cancer too. So she made the right call. She listened to Jiminy Cricket. You got to start listening to Jiminy Cricket. Well, Jackie came back into work. She walked into my office, and she said, Rick, I'm going to have to resign. I said, why? She said, well, you know, I got to tell you about my experience at Memorial Hospital. You know, we don't have great health insurance here, and we didn't at our office at the time. And it was an HMO, didn't cover a lot of the best doctors, but the hospital reached out to her. The plastic surgeons reached out to her. They made sure she had all the best of everything, and it didn't hurt her financially. She said, I have got to help those people just like they helped me, and I'm not doing enough here. And I said, I completely understand where you're coming from. Well, over the next 8 years, Jackie fought cancer. She had it in her pelvis. She then had a hysterectomy. It went into her brain. It went into her liver. It went into her kidneys. Went into her bones. And every single day, she went to the hospital, and she worked with patients, and she educated doctors and talked to them every single day. She would go to chemo. She would go back to the hospital and work. Nobody even knew how sick she was. She didn't put it out there because her whole focus was on helping other people before herself. She was earning her dash. Very hard to compete with. Every single one of you has that same dash. You have the ability to change and help people just like she did on a regular basis. She changed people's lives. I told you when I came up, I've been getting all these really weird signs. Well, this is Jackie Strider's. Jackie passed away, like I told you, on January 28th. Her team has already raised over $10,000. She's still making a difference every single day, just with her dash. By me telling the story, it just adds to that. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be doing today. Every single one of my books, my tapes, my seminars, every single one, and I have priced them as cheap as you could possibly imagine, every dollar is going to Jackie Strider's. See, when I pulled up and saw that pink fountain, I knew. We're all in the right place. We're where we're supposed to be. And this is affecting all of us. There's not one person, I guarantee, in this room right now that doesn't or hasn't been touched by cancer. What are you doing about it? She did something about it every single day. Not complaining, not doing anything. Just going to work and doing her job and helping other people. That is the highest form of love that you could give to anybody. That's all about you. See, if you give to get, you're even. She knew that. She gave and gave and gave until her last day. Well, on August 21st, I got a phone call from the Cancer Society, and they said, Dr. Goodman, could you come in? You know, you've done a lot of programs for us, and we're going to be giving an award in Jackie's name, and it's going to be a perpetual award. It's going to go to the cancer survivor, the person who helped the most people, who showed all the unbelievable qualities that she showed. Could you come in and say a few words and accept this award that's going to be in her name forever? Now, you know, they don't give awards to people generally unless they donate a whole bunch of money. But this is someone who utilized their dash, utilized everything in their body to help people like her, like others, get that health care that they needed above herself. And now they're naming an award after her. So on August 22nd, I went up, I made my speech, and I accepted an award on behalf of my wife, Jackie Klein Goodman. My dash is fulfilled today by telling her story. What are you going to do with your dash? That is my question to you. It's in your hands. There's nobody else that can do it for you. You do more for people than anybody knows. I know what you do for people. Please help me to help other people. That's the key. If we can do that, we can save the world a little bit at a time. And that's why you're here. You're here to help people. You're here to make a difference. And if you're not here to make a difference, you're in the wrong place. But I know that each and every one of you is here right now because that's where you're supposed to be. Thank you and God bless. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.